Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. As part of the opening, I always read the district mission statement. In partnership with the communities, the mission of the Dilworth Lindenfeld School District is to educate individuals in an environment of trust and respect so they become self-directed, responsible, and belong. Roll call. We got the whole board here. Mr. Instead, we also have Tracy, and Katie, and all right, and various guests. Welcome to everyone that's come to our board meeting. This is the most people we probably have in the board meeting, so we're excited to have you all here. We'll go on to the agenda, to adopt the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? No changes. All right. We have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Nicole, like a second. Second by Troy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Vote. Motion carries. On to number 5. This is for public comments and rebel recognition. And I know we have just a lot of folks here for public comments. And I'll just note we have a policy on speaking in front of the board, policy 206. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that there's 2 things that come to my mind when I think of the policy. One is not to make disparaging remarks about anyone. I don't think anybody's going to do that, but I always like to mention that so that we don't have incidents where we have to stop the board meeting. The other is privacy. We want to talk about private matters related to students or staff. Please don't do that. You can certainly say nice things about people, and I'm sure we'll hear some of that too, so we welcome that. But those are just the 2 things I'd like to tell everyone. Sometimes I'm able to tell everyone in private, but we have lots of speakers here today, so I just thought I would say that to the entire group. All right, so I'm going to we're going to just call individuals basically as I have them on my list. You'll have up to 5 minutes to speak. You don't have to speak for 5 minutes, but you're certainly welcome to. And are you the timekeeper? Troy will keep time, and he'll let you know when you're getting close. When you've got a minute left. Let's say that. Fair. All right. We'll start with the first speaker. And if you're in a group, that's fine. If I call somebody and there's a group of folks that are going to speak at one time, that's fine. But the first one is Aiden Marcio. Did I say that right? Well, I apologize. How do you say it?
Marcel.
Marcel. Okay. All right.
My first point I would like to make today is very simple. College. While a study done by the American Council of Alumni and Trustees says that only 11.5% of U.S. colleges require a foreign language, that a quote-unquote vast majority of prestigious institutions do require one, and if you do not have one, almost any college is going to send you down in consideration by considerable one. So why are DGF students being set up for such a mediocre level of performance? As a transition point, do any of you remember John Miltner, the nationally famous photographer who died London last week? The one who could be argued as internationally influential and is fighting for peace? Well, this highly accomplished and respectable man said that when asked on this issue, while he does not know a foreign language, realizes that it would be highly beneficial in his line of work and help him understand the community that he is trying to bring together and foster peace in. So if foreign language is this important, why is it being denied from our students? My final point I would like to make has to do with the petition that was put up on February 12th, on Frau Roberts, Senor Roberts, Ms. Roberts' language teacher's door. In 5 days, it received 97 signatures in last. In 1 day, it received 22 minutes. From the high school, that is 24% of our entire city population. If the students of DGF care about languages this much, should we not try to protect it more than we already are? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Dave. All right, next on the list is Joe High.
This is like being back in the speech team myself. I get the 2-1. I'd like to briefly address the decisions you are all about to have to make regarding cutting extracurriculars. You will hear from my son and classmates, friends, speak on this shortly. If any of you know my son Ryan and his achievements, then you will know that I'm just hoping not to embarrass him right now. And the fact that I'm actually reading this instead of memorizing it is probably controversial. I promise he and his team will be quiet. I understand that these are consequences of a failed referendum. We all do. We cannot change that, neither can anyone here. I know there are a lot of people unhappy with how funding was handled previously, and the best thing right now is to show that we are responsible with the money that we have, so that next time we ask for this levy, it will pass. That being said, part of using money wisely is understanding that sometimes value is not something black and white. I'm going to use debate and Riverwatch as my examples because I know Ramlin is in them, and that because debate is not a new program to DGF, but Riverwatch is. And I would like to add, he is not the only student affected by these things, but I know him a little better than I do other students. Ramlin is a junior who's excelled in speech and debate. You might recognize him because between debate, speech, knowledgeable, and Riverwatch, plus many others, he lands on the school Facebook page at least once a month. Even we've had alumni tell us that he's on there more than any quote-unquote star athlete. Rylan has been amazingly successful, and we are extremely proud of him. We are happy that his school seems proud of him too. He has been in the national speech and debate competition twice and is qualified to go yet again. This is an opportunity to earn through competition, not merely by signing up. What other programs have students winning the opportunity to compete nationally in the school's recent history? You can only think of academic programs like robotics, speech, and debate. We recently learned that he and 2 other debaters have qualified and awarded the honor of Academic All-American for their efforts in speech and debate. Riverwatch, a club that teaches students about conservation and their environment, is a new program to the school. But already the participants have won multiple awards for their projects and competitions, including gold at regionals just weeks ago. It gets the kids out of the classroom and learning in a real-world environment. This is something we are learning is very valuable to students, getting them out of the classroom. There's been a push for that, and Riverwatch does just that. And now we're talking about right where we've gotten these kids. What are we offering them academically in place of these things? What are we offering students who don't fit into the mold of an athlete? What extracurriculars can our students participate in if they are not going to be athletes that they can put on their resume for scholarships and for admission to universities? As a school, the purpose is to educate. There are certainly life skills that need to be learned from athletics, but athletics simply aren't for everyone. No one is suggesting that athletics are somehow less. What we're saying is we need to make efforts to keep extracurricular activities available to students that don't have an interest in athletics. What you may not know is like athletics, academic extracurricular kids are practicing after school every day. They're working on projects at home. They're getting on buses at 5 or 6 a.m. on Saturdays all winter long and off of them 12 hours later. Most of the time in dress clothes. Anybody that grew up here knows that's period. Additionally, I requested some information about extracurriculars, including budgeting, what decisions, how decisions were being made. And now we found out that the spreadsheet, the information was old and inaccurate. So have the coaches of these programs been allowed to submit updated budgets? Have they been asked to cut costs to make their programs more affordable at school? I am told in at least 2 instances they weren't. They were simply told that they were cut. I've had communication with the debate coach, And the cost she conveys appears much lower than what was provided to us on the spreadsheet that was from 2024-2025. At the very least, there appears to be a disconnect between what the coaches understand for cost and what the school understands for cost. I encourage you to work with the coaches of the programs before simply cutting them. There may be other avenues, and they are willing to consider them as much as, like, for instance, applying for grants, fundraising for the community, trimming expenses. Before decisions can be made and motions passed, it's obvious that there needs to be more work done. As a parting thought, please keep in mind that cutting an assistant position from the athletic team does not eliminate the entire program. Those athletic teams are still available to the students. There's nothing left the academics. I'll shoot. My last line is the good one.
Well, say your last.
All right.
Point of order.
Thank you. Those children are simply left without. And without, it's never a place that a school should ever leave children. There we go. Got it.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we've got Bandy Lambert.
Students have such a hard task ahead. We've got this big budget this budget that doesn't allow very much. We get that. I'm coming at it as a parent of a graduate from 2023 who excelled in band. That was her jam. Pep band, jazz band. My daughter Aubrey here, who's a junior, she excels at speech, debate. She excels at river watch. She loves modeling and youth in government. Everything that has been successful for my children is now being cut. And it bothers me as a parent to see that there's not other opportunities that will be presented to them. And these opportunities made my girls feel very connected to the school. And without them, there wouldn't be a connection. So I think that does need to be considered as we look at trimming some of these costs. What students, how they participate in school, and addressing the needs of all of our kids.
Thank you. All right. We've got Sophia Williams. Yeah.
I think they have an order.
Oh, we have an order. What's just the debate group that wants to come up? Please.
We have
That's fine. Okay, next is Jennifer.
I can do it.
Or maybe you just have Mike. Let's just-
You guys can go, I'm sorry.
No, you're the.
You want to go out of order, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Members of the school board, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaac Olson. I'm a sophomore here at DGF High School. I've been enrolled in the school district since I was a toddler, and through my time so far, I've had the pleasure of being part of more clubs and extracurricular activities than I can count with my fingers. I'm already out of fingers. Anyway, from robotics to student council to Jasmine, there's a high chance that I will be seen in a yearbook photo. The reason for my involvement goes further than wanting accolades on college applications. It comes from my deep love of learning and insatiable curiosity that I've gained from being in this district. I come to you tonight in hopes that you will reconsider discontinuing the funding of several of our great extracurricular programs in our district. A substantial amount of what students like I need to truly thrive in this learning environment is at risk, and for all the wrong reasons. Tonight, we will take a look at one program near and dear to mine and many others' hearts: congressional debate. After the conclusion of the last school board meeting 2 weeks ago, in referencing the result of a vote, my mother asked me what abstaining meant. Through my experience in debate, I was easily able to explain what abstaining was, a lack of a vote, and its result. But debate is more than just facts about parliamentary procedure. In debate, several representatives from many schools across our region compete in chambers that are similar to the Congress of the United States. Speakers give 3-minute speeches for or against a bill that is written by students. These bills discuss actual current events that need real solutions, and oftentimes the students are amazing at finding these solutions by weighing the pros and cons of both sides. Personally, I was able to find my true voice through debate because it forced me to get up in front of a room of strangers and speak. I was able to be pushed out of my comfort zone. And by doing that since I joined last year, I have grown exponentially in not just my speaking and writing ability, but in my confidence, my ability to stay informed, my critical thinking, my research skills, my perseverance, and my collaboration with others to reach a common goal. I would not be speaking here tonight without debate. When I went to the state qualifier meet in early December of last year at Egan High School, one particular mantra that was plastered around the school really stuck out to me. Arts, athletics, academics. If Egan can do it, why is it impossible for our school, DGF, to have an equal balance of each? It's more than possible for us to have a great balance between the three, but with significantly more cuts to our academics and arts departments compared to our athletics, we can see that the balance is not present, and there is no effort to make it appear that way. Although some of the athletics are facing personnel cuts, there is no complete elimination of programs like we can see for the arts and academics. This is simply unjust, and no person should be able to stand for this. To eliminate our nationally qualifying debate program, our first place winning Riverwatch program, and our own pep band, among many, many other cuts in academics and arts programs, in place of heavier cuts to athletics for the sake of balancing the budget, does not make sense in the slightest. Members of the school board, for the sake of fairness, and for the sake of many students like me who rely on these programs to thrive in our district, please consider voting against item 9.2 on today's agenda. Thank you for your time.
Okay. I think we'll go to the debate group.
As Isaac touched on before, debate is an important activity that builds on lifelong skills. It is a foundation upon which leadership skills are developed and strengthened. Through debate, we learn essential skills of being well-informed and considering both sides. This is how we grow our skills to be confident, effective leaders in our community, state, and nation. Debate has taught me how to articulate my thoughts, think deeply on issues, and speak publicly with confidence. We understand this district is facing difficult determinations right now. We know hard choices have to be made, and there needs to be cuts in some areas. However, the debate program is something that can still continue while keeping costs manageable. We are willing to make adjustments and have already found ways to help reduce some of the costs. Ms. Martin has been working on getting grants that she's already very likely to receive. This means the debate program would not rely entirely on school funds. In fact, most of the funding needed could come from these grants. There are other ways to cut costs as well. If debate is allowed to continue, the coaching salary would be shared between a head coach and an assistant coach. The assistant coach would also serve as the team's driver to tournaments. This would significantly reduce both the coaching and transportation costs. Difficult choices have to be made. You are in a hard position as board members. We want to work with you to find ways to make the program more affordable where we can. Debate is something that is worth keeping. It provides so many important opportunities for students and teaches skills that can be applied in all areas of life, both now and in the future. With the grants being applied for and adjustments being made in coaching and transportation, we believe debate can continue in a way that allows students to have the benefits while being mindful of the district's tight budget for the 2026-2027 school year.
Just pause for a second. What was your name?
Aubrey,
Aubrey Lambert?
yes.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Hello, my name is Sophie Williams. I am a part of the UGF Debate Club, Riverwatch, and Pet Band. I am not usually someone to speak. I oftentimes PO, meaning I'm a parliamentary officer. I conduct meetings and use Yahoo procedures. In lieu of this, however, I will be speaking today, as all the activities I am enrolled in at DGF are being cut. But today, my focus is on the debate program, and particularly the aspect about anxiety, public speaking, as well as familiarity in a world that is ever increasingly polar in terms of partisan beliefs. I personally am someone who struggles with public speaking anxiety. I am always shaky when I speak, and I get nervous when I see people. However, Debate Club has helped alleviate some of that anxiety with how the chairs are structured. It's cutthroat, fast-paced, and you have to be quick on your feet and you have to know what to say. And I would not be speaking here today if we were not for the Debate Club, similar to every other member of our club. We have qualified for many accolades as stated by my fellow debater, Isaac. We have Riley Knudsen. He is one of our top speakers in our school, if not our county. And yet we're being cut. A small program with a lot of big potential is being cut due to budget costs. We could have built something amazing, and yet we are being cut today. Let's not be cut today. Let's allow our program to grow. Let's allow us to learn these abilities, these skills to allow us in a world that's increasingly polar and help articulate our voices and our opinions in a way that is respectful to others, acknowledges the opinions of others, and can help, of course, alleviate some of that anxiety that someone may speak face while speaking. Please do not cut the program. It's the lifeblood of us. It's something we hold dear to our hearts, and it helps immensely with a lot of the way we've developed. It's helped us for our abilities. We need to keep doing it.
Thank you, Sophia.
Feel a little cramped. I'm Ronald Knudsen. My achievement is being Joe's son. So we've thrown a lot at you tonight. We've thrown the pros, the cons, but we need to understand a little bit is the context of the program. Now, before the early 2010s, our debate program wasn't congressional. It was public forum, meaning you've got one person over here, and they're yelling at each other. But in the early 2010s, our local circuit, the schools that we competed in within the region, closed down. They all decided that instead of competing locally, they were going to take the long trip down to the Twin Cities every weekend. At first, we considered the same option. The problem, as you probably can guess, that means overnight trips. That means paying for hotels. That means longer time, and longer time spent on the bus means more money spent on transportation. So we went with a different option. We worked with local schools, such as in Underwood and Bemidji, to create a local congressional debate program, going away from one-on-one yelling to a whole group of people yelling at each other. The benefit was also immense in terms of the finances. Because we switched to congressional debate in a local circuit, we cut down travel time, cutting down transportation costs. The way our circuit works as well, debate coaches pay for food, they pay for awards, they pay for coaching, they pay for judges. Because of that, many schools face low costs with their programs. All it is transportation. What we have to understand today is that we can change, like we did in the early 2010s. But to change, we need to exist. As Isaac has already highlighted, our program is nationally acclaimed. As Aubrey has pointed out, we have the ability to both trim expenses and raise our revenue in ways that does not harm the school's existing budget. As Sophia has pointed out, debate is a key way to build lifelong confidence and speaking ability. They can be useful not just in school, but beyond it, in college and career opportunities well into the future. And as I've pointed out, we are a program that has changed before. We can change, we will change, and we do change. And so, what I ask you to consider today, instead of cutting our program this year, is to allow us to implement these changes, so as to make it so that we are the best program the next year. But to change, we need to exist.
Thank you, Brian. All right, next on the list, Jennifer Conklin.
Hello. I really resent the fact that I have to follow these kids. Extremely articulate. I'm so impressed. And I was just going to wing it, but my daughter told me I had to write some talking points, so I did. So I would just like to cover a few things. Hello, board. My name is Jennifer Conklin. Our family has 4 rebels attending the school, 3rd, 7th, and 2 seniors. And I'm here to express my concern with the motion to discontinue 5 activities. We live in Glendon, but up until this year, 2 or more of our kids were open enrolled at Moorhead to take advantage of the Spanish immersion program, because I also find language to be extremely important and necessary. And I think you will, of course, speaking on that topic. At the end of last school year, our family decided to enroll all of our children at DGF because we felt a smaller, closer community would benefit our kids, and we really believed in the school here. So far, I have found that the teachers and staff are just putting a lot of heart and soul into this school, and that's really, really important. I am concerned, though, about these dwindling opportunities to participate in school-sponsored activities that provide growth, learning, and connections with peers. I printed off lists of non-athletic activities at surrounding schools. We're tied with Holly right now. Holly and DGF have 20 non-athletic activities offered to students. If you cut 5, we'll have 15. That's not a great place to be in this competition. Moorhead offers 25 and Barnesville offers 24. So I think that's really sad. I don't want to be the loser in that competition. I don't think any of these activities should be cut. I think we should think creatively about them, but I'd like to focus on debate. I've noticed, and I'm sure everybody has, that our society is becoming more polarized and belligerent all the time. Debate has never been more important. According to the Stanford National Forensic Institution, debate helps students build confidence in public speaking, as my daughter Sophia alluded to, and expressing their ideas eloquently. Preparing for competitions helps them build critical thinking and research skills. It teaches debaters to look at both sides of an issue. Imagine that. We should try that as adults. To form the best possible argument and give students an opportunity to learn how to find and use flaws in someone else's speech. Being able to articulate your own point and consider someone else's is becoming a lost art in our society. If DGF truly believes in a mission to nurture self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners, I think you have a responsibility to continue to offer debate. I am so proud of my daughters. I have Sophia here and Kaya somewhere up there. Hi, Kaya. They help teach fellow officers of their 4-H club how to use Robert's rules to run 4-H meetings. In my own career, I belonged to a state association. We had a president one year who did not know how to use Robert's rules. Our business meeting was frustrating and inefficient as other adults tried to help each other bring order to the agenda. It did not inspire confidence. It was not good for our association. So I think our future is in good hands with these students who really know how to use Robert's rules and be articulate. The 5 activities you plan or you're voting to discontinue funding for cannot possibly constitute a huge portion of DGF's budget. Please do not make cuts for the sake of making cuts. Let's think creatively. Let's reduce spending across all activities and athletics equitably. I think debate's budget is probably not a huge portion. I'm happy to coordinate a minivan caravan if that's what we need. I have a swagger wagon, we can use it. I'd be happy to help seek sponsors, local law firms. I think we can do this as a community, give us the opportunity to build community, to bring in the families to support this activity. Let's solve it together, because making right choices is the rebel way. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christopher. I think we have Ms. Martin. It's on the list.
Didn't write anything down, and I don't have any note cards, so I'm just going to speak from my brain. Today I talked to Marcus, and the budget information is from the year before last. This year, they spent $5,600.02. Guess we can negate the 2 cents. And that would be our plan going forward. When someone said we're not supporting NSBA, I emailed NSBA right away, and they gave me a $2,000 grant for memberships in the NSBA, which we've covered with our freshmen. And I know that there's a $5,000 grant sitting in NSBA, and we can probably get that. There are 106 diamond pushes in the United States, and one of them. And I'm pretty sure they'll listen to me. I reached out to MBTA, that's Minnesota Debate Teachers Association, and I was promised $1,500. I can't fill out the forms because they don't open yet, but right there, we're looking at probably enough money to run it. And part of what we would, the money that we look at is transportation only. And so in order to transport without hiring somebody from the school, I have always looked for a college kid who wanted to learn to be a debate coach and taught them debate, and they would agree to drive. So, and this year I didn't coach because I have a back hip, whatever. But we hired a recent graduate who was willing to drive, so that's why our costs were only $5,600. And we have some coming debaters sitting in the room here. There's a couple that I've said, you really have a debate one, you have to join us. So I think we can manage a $6,000 budget, and we pay nothing for entrance fees when we go to Bemidji, Pequot Lakes, or Fergus. They pay nothing when they come to us. I did one year host a tournament for the people from North Dakota, and there were lots of people in both schools. They're still not paid, so you know that was a lot of work with little money to show. I haven't yet found an assistant debate coach who's willing to drive, but I have one person in mind who will probably say yes. So these kids work really, really hard. When they talk about legislation, they're not talking about 2 bills. They will get a stack of 8 or 10 bills that they have to work through. And at the tournament, kids decide which bills they will debate on. So you could spend all of your time working on this one and never get to use the speech that you wrote for. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's in a 2-week cycle. The only other thing that's outside of that is there's a large section congress where all the sections go, and that's in Eagan. And at the same time, the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association runs a JV novice tournament. So whatever fits in the van, we would take. There's only 2 people who are allowed to speak at the section, and the rest would go into MDTA. This year, we paid $40 in admission, which is negligible. So I hope you keep this, because these are hardworking, really young people, and they really deserve this chance. And there has been a great deal said about the numbers. At one point in time, I had 18 debaters, and we went in a bus to Brandon every 2 weeks, and then we went in a bus to the cities. And that was expensive. I didn't like running to the cities every weekend, and so we went from going to Brainerd to going to the cities for PF every weekend. And on the way home, I just thought one day, well, if I teach people how to do congressional debate, we have a scrimmage circle. And really, I would like everybody to be much closer physically. But we have a scrimmage circle that works now. There are 5 schools and the 6th one joining next year, hopefully. So we'll have more tournaments in the band. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Next, we have Sam. Ms. pronounce your last name.
Armbrust.
Armbrust?
Armbrust.
Armbrust. Sam Armbrust. Thank you.
Good evening, school board members. It's great to see you all tonight. My name is Sam Armbrust, and I'm a ninth grader at PGF. You might have seen me in knowledgeable or speech, and hopefully by next year, debate, if it stays. And for those who don't know me, what you need to know is that I adore language learning. Currently, the languages I'm learning are Spanish, French, Russian, Japanese, Lithuanian, and Swedish. For many people, language learning isn't a simple hobby. It's years of dedication for the sake of fluency. There are plenty of benefits, aside from looking really good on a resume. But to be fair, the shiny little label of bilingual or even multilingual looks really nice on your resume. But language learning also sharpens your decision making, helps your memory, God knows I need it, sharpens your problem solving, improves your ability to concentrate, and feeds your brain. Even when it comes to looking neat on a resume, a solid 90% of US employers report on relying on employees who speak more than one language, ACTFL 2024. And 1 in 3 businesses report a significant language skills gap. But something I've learned while learning a language is that I also tend to learn about culture with it. And with that breaks down the internal misunderstandings I have about other cultures. And believing something like language learning being present globally, especially in high school, can help break down the misunderstandings we have for others and bring us closer together. I will hear the most disgusting things said about another race or culture, not only in my schools, but even in my neighborhoods, in my families. And most of us don't even realize it. But with every little stereotype and unrecognized fear we have of other races and cultures, we stop viewing each other as friends, as equals, but instead as anomalies, as specimens. But learning language alongside learning culture inside the space of a classroom alleviates that. I have learned so much about Spanish culture within my 1 year of Spanish class. I am a Spanish 2 student. I jumped ahead, but the amount I've learned just from being in the classroom rather than doing an online app is astronomical. No app, no online program could compare to this feeling of community I feel within my peers, within my classroom. All of us are united under one thing, learning a language. To learn language is to learn culture. To learn culture is to build understanding. To build understanding is to build relationships. To build relationships is to build community. So why take that away from us? Thank you for your time. ACTFL, the benefits of language learning 2024, and ACTFL, making languages our business 2024.
Thank you, Sam. All right. Now we have Bruce Roberts.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, my name is Bruce Roberts. I'm Jody Roberts' husband. I should say I'm embarrassing. Items number 9.3 agenda. I too, like Jody, am a teacher. However, I recently retired from MSUN. I love teaching and would have continued, but I realized that too much had changed about what needed to be done to reach today's university students. Luckily, I had already turned 65 and qualified for both Social Security and Medicare. My hope was that Jody could also do the same. She turned 64 in April, meaning that she'll still be about a year over before she too can qualify for Social Security and Medicare. I'm biased, but I think that the students that the students at DGF High School have been very fortunate. I have my wife as their teacher. Something that still amazes me is that she does not just teach one thing. She teaches 2 different foreign languages, quote unquote foreign languages. I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I can debate about that. And this year, she's also taken on the freshman seminar / career seminar. Frankly, I think the administration has gotten a lot of bang for their buck out of Jody. She loves teaching these students and still gets the high or the thrill of seeing the light bulb go off over their heads. I didn't experience that very much in my last 5 years at MSUN. But I got to leave on my own terms, and I'm very grateful for that. I was also hoping that Jody would be able to do the same. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. That will conclude the public speaker section. We'll go on to rebel recognition. Unless I missed somebody. Oh, no, I think I got it.
Well, interesting enough, this was shared with me today about Ryla. So congratulations to you, Ryla. I just got this shared with me today. Congratulations, you've earned the Academic All-American Award. Fewer than 2% of National Speech and Debate Association student members earn the Academic All-American Award every year. This honor is an indicator of your academic achievement and competitive success. To celebrate this achievement, you can opt to purchase, and you can know that. That's just another, sorry, I read too far. Purchase it. Anyway, so congratulations to you and to that award.
Any other rebel recognition?
I have a few. DGF speech placed 3rd in Bemidji. I think that was since our last meeting. So congratulations to them. And then I want to commend our school administration, staff, counselors, and SRO for when we had our school lockdown the other day. I thought hearing from staff members as well as my own students and from the law enforcement family, I learned that there was good communications to our teachers, to our parents, to our staff. Speaking from my kids felt safe and cared for and curious, but cared for, which I think is natural, right? We're fostering that learning. And I'm just very thankful for our school district prioritizing safety when there's a moment of question. I know there was not certainty that there was a threat, but knowing what could happen, I was very grateful and just wanted to publicly announce that to our district, that I was very grateful in the event something could have happened that we were safe. So appreciative of that. Also, congratulations to TJ, Jacob, and Caleb, who made it to state for wrestling. I've never been to a large wrestling event, but I took my son down there, and I think my blood pressure was higher than I've ever seen it ever in my whole life, except for maybe having to public speak like our students did remarkably tonight. That is probably the only other thing that makes my blood pressure go up that remarkable. So congratulations to them, as well as a great season for our boys and girls basketball team. They showed up, fell short, I'm sure, of what they were dreaming, but still had terrific seasons. Proud of our Rebels from different periods.
Any other rebel recognition? Well, I'm a little biased because I have a kid that's in rock band, but I just want to give a shout out to those 3 boys that played at halftime of the girls basketball game where they they worked really hard. I heard a lot of noise downstairs. Wasn't sure what was going on, but yeah, they were better than I thought they could be. So it was really, I was very impressed, and just a shout out to those guys. All right, we'll go on to number 6, report 6.1, business management report. Mark.
All right, thanks for having me. We can first just go through the summary things that you guys have. February. So as far as February's financials, they're pretty standard financials. As far as payroll, go back to, there's the normal payroll for this period, so this is what we can see. The non-certifieds, it's for the last half of January and the first half of February, and then for the certified teachers, it's all February, so, full time period, not in Christmas vacation and such there, so, from the last month, it went up about 100,000, just because that second half of December was really much for non-certified. As far as the, revenue, we didn't have any, like, county payments, it was all state aid. So that's why you can see, and because we've had our debt payments, there's not really any much Fund 7, so it's mostly just Fund 1 deposits from state general aid. So we get kind of caught up from having different accruals there. And because of that, because the expenses were pretty standard, there wasn't anything unusual, we did have a little bit of surplus. So, is there any questions of this happening summary? Okay, you can go on to the budget versus actual then. Again, because it was a regular month, there wasn't anything unusual to talk about besides you kind of see where, you know, because we were trying to create some efficiencies from last year to this year, we've done a good job of spending. You can see we've only spent a little over 100,000 this year at this time as we did last year. And because our budget has increased with all the costs going up, we are sitting in a better position compared to what we would expect. Last month, we were about 1.2% to the good. From budget to actual, we have fallen back to about 0.85%. So it is closing that gap, which we would expect because we have a better picture of what our final budget is. So I would expect that to continue to close. But considering last year, we were behind at this point, so that's something favorable as far as like watching our costs. Yeah, I guess there's not really much to talk about besides that. Any questions on that? And then I don't really have anything with construction budget. There was no change there. No cost there, so really no there. Any questions? Yep.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. Okay. We're going to 6.2, activities director. Kate?
Okay, so our winter activities programming with exception of speech has concluded. And I just have a little bit, I don't have to go through everything, but a write up about each activity there. Like Nicole said, have some state wrestlers and their dance also to state. Spring activities numbers as of today are listed. Spring sports started today for most of them, all but golf. Yes, golf. But a couple bigger things. Next year, we're having a system change, unfortunately. So our school, which is our activity scheduler, is what we use for many years. But that got bought out by something called Arbiter, which is kind of where the state is going. But many conferences have decided not to go with Arbiter due to its usability and customer service. And so the HOL conference is going to be transitioning to it's called Bound. Through Bound, that's where families will use that for registration for all activities, ticketing, scheduling, all facilities scheduling, Pine Prairie Conference, Moorhead, CLP Conference are all in the Bound. So it's going to be very, hopefully, universal. It'll be nice if you go somewhere, everybody will do the same thing. There'll be one app, one website, so that's for ticketing, where you register, all the facility scheduling, people, all those things that if you're a parent or a fan that you use. So that is coming, and the transition process is slowly starting, but it will be fully transitioned over on July 1st. HLL conference update, Frazee has decided to part ways with the HLL, and we have joined the Park Region Conference. So they've been a part of the HLL for a very, very long time, so it's a big change, so I just wanted to make sure you knew about that. There are discussions about having Thief River Falls, but it's very early discussions, and we don't decide. So don't know where that will go yet. And then Jason will begin training in April, and we'll start transitioning over the summer.
Any questions for Kate?
Do you know why Frazee?
They were getting a lot of pressure, like, they actually were fairly competitive in a lot of things this year, but it hasn't been like that in the past, and it doesn't look to be like that in the future. They're much smaller, if that's part of the reason, so you're joining your conference, that's more.
Yeah, I'll ask you and I'll ask Tracy or whatever here in a little bit,
Oh.
whatever, but what, I mean, the bound system
Yeah.
or whatever, I mean, has there been any look at, go to the A-Rocks or go from A-Rocks to bound? I mean,
So it's weird, because it's kind of
hard to
like, they do connect a little bit, and I'll Tracy can just talk a little bit, but I think the bound is more for your high school activities, not necessarily for community education classes, but they do talk. So I don't really know all about that, because I don't need to know all about that, so I'll let Tracy maybe fill you in, but yes, we are hoping, I mean, that's one thing we found is, like right now, the program, of course, we just got that all up and running, which honestly would be pretty good, that would be bound, which like that, but at the same time, so many people are making it, well, we have to make the change, it doesn't make sense if they offer the ticket, it's always something else, it makes sense to have probably under the same umbrella. So.
We will have it by July 1st, so we
Yep.
have for our passage.
Yes, everything will be done in there for July 1. Yep.
All right, thanks, Kate.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go on to 6.3, community education. Tracy.
All right, good evening, everybody. I had shared a report with you and just kind of touching base a little bit on some of the activities that are going on in the community yet. And kind of a recap probably for the last couple months, because we focus now this spring, a lot of it that will be focused on summer rec. But overall, you will see some of the classes, the baking, holiday classes, a lot of our classes that we saw in like those two areas, they filled up so fast. I think we just need to offer more. So we'll continue to do that as we go into summer and into the fall. We're partnering with Clay County on the 4-H program that's offering one class a month here for all of our elementary kiddos. Art club, we have K through 8, 3 different classes that go on. Art club for us here at the elementary is twice a week. We do K through 2 or 3 through 4, Tuesday or Thursday. And Mrs. Peppel teaches that, and then we have middle school art club that is busy as well. Driver's ed, the point of impact class, we have added 2, right? So we have May 12th and December 1st that will be offered and continue going forward with 2 classes. Maybe more of the early, before we get into busy summer for Val Kellen, who helps instruct that with Eileen and Craig Anderson. So we'll do that twice a year. Youth wrestling will be wrapping up here shortly. That started in November. We'll go until probably for maybe another week or so. Working with Katie on facility usage. Wrestling usually wraps up in January for our youth, but they want to do more and more and more. So we're trying to make sure we stay out of the way about softball as well. Boys basketball and girls basketball, K through 1, that will run April and May. 2nd grade just started today, and that is going to be kind of a mirror of our 3rd through 8th grade program. We're starting younger, and it's offering games on Saturdays, and coaches are coaching to kind of get them ready for the FYBL. So we tweaked the schedule a little bit with the 2 no student days on the 13th and the 16th. We had to do some adjusting, so we sent that revised schedule out today. And our 3rd through 8th grade, that started in September, it was all the way to March. So when you think about it, I was kind of just looking at some data here this last week. 39 coaches in that program, 6 Saturday games. And then when you look at facility uses for those teams, 18 teams,
We had 414 nights, that teams were in the gym. And they also participated in 72 tournaments. So that is all over the place. So, it's a big program, a lot of registrations. So it, continue to make it better and continue to grow. JO volleyball just started last week. We have 8 volleyball teams practicing twice a week. We have a couple home tournaments on March 25th and April 11th, where we'll work with Coach Disner and some of our coaches that we have. The holiday ball, we talked a little bit about this at our last advisory council meeting. We'll talk more about it at future ones. Just due to the enrollment of boys in the holiday ball, there wasn't a lot. We had about 25 registered and maybe less than 20 showed up. And some of the feedback we heard is we really like it when you get it out of the hall. It doesn't mean we can't offer something for boys, but it'll be another conversation we have as an advisory council to see what the committee wants to do. And just stop me if you have any questions, or you can ask me at the end too. Early childhood registration open for that and Rebel Kids Care on February 10th. That is for tots and school readiness. You'll see we have a trailer sign out on Highway 10. We have a banner out on the fence out here. We're going to send out a postcard next week, trying to blitz our social media. We'll have preschool roundup on March 30th, the week after kindergarten orientation. It just gets really busy in the building with both orientations. So this year we decided to split them. And then also we're up for recertification of our parent aware rating, which is DGF Early Childhood is a 4-star rating. It's kind of given to the highest child care school age programs that are in the state. And that requires our staff to do additional CEU training, which minimum of 10 hours. Ours is 20 hours plus that they put in extra. We're going to be submitting that in May. And that also allows us to get Pathway 1, Pathway $2, and additional early childhood funding from the state. Rebel Kids Care open February 10th. This year it's a little different for summer. We are opening up Rebel Kids Care to non-DGF families. Priority is given to DGF families, but after that first window, first week, we open it up to non-DGF, and we really don't have a cap right now. We just keep taking them. And we review, and I would say we probably have 6 or 7 that are non-DGF kids are already enrolled full-time in Rebel Kids Care this summer. So maybe that will draw them to our district. So we'll see. When we get to the fall, though, then it'll return back to just DGF kids. Staffing, we're busy hiring for summer. We have our lead. It's going to be out for about 4 months, so we're doing some tweaking of schedules and staffing and moving people around a little bit. We did have 9 staff members go through first aid CPR training, which was quite a lot of online training and on-site training. So we have that. So to make sure every single classroom has someone trained in CPR first aid, so we move them around. So that went great. Summer rec, I just want to make sure that you see that's a tentative. Our advisory council, I'm going to give them an update here in early part of May, or early part of April, I should say, to kind of go through some of the classes that we're going to offer. One thing we're going to tweak is a couple of our biggest programs is our pre-T-ball, T-ball, and Coach Pitch at night. A lot of parent volunteers. We're partnering with Norman County East Adolph and Holly this year. So we're going to have one night games, true games with these 4, 5, 6-year-olds. So we're going to see how this is going to go. So that'll be fun. We're adding 30 plus new, if it's art classes, physical activity classes this summer. We're building those in AROCs as we speak. Transportation, I shared with Shannon and Eileen that we won't use the big yellow bus this summer. We're going to use those little buses that we have, the white one and the yellow one, to kind of save on some costs. And Eileen was going to, kind of keep the contractors updated on that as well. We shared out an email lastly on course proposals. So if anybody has a hidden talent or anything they'd like to teach in community ed, we shared that out to say, fill out a course proposal. We'd love to have a conversation with you on adding additional classes. I would probably expand a little bit on what Katie talked about with Bound. Concessions is gonna go away from Pay Anywhere, which is our platform for credit card usage, and use Bound. We're gonna partner with them. From a ARUC standpoint, it really isn't the model for facilities. It's more for early childhood, wraparound camp, things like that. That's kind of the focus over our Rebel store. So we'll the Pay Anywhere, I should say, is more of the concessions in Rebel store. We'll move those over to Bound, just so that we have all one platform when we work with markets. So it's got to be better than Pay Anywhere. I'll just say that, because many times people would come up, use the tap, and we get that hourglass and things. Come back in 5 minutes, and then go $7, you know. So we want it to be a good experience, and I've worked with John and Brandt, and they've worked so hard to try to get it to go, but it just is really quirky. So we're gonna try to be consistent and use Bound. I have another meeting with them on Thursday, so it'll be better. But I will say, you know, when it worked, it was great, because kids would come up and use the card for the machine. More high schoolers, you still have those kids that come up that are just want to catch our right, maybe they're 5 and so that's operable. But questions?
Does anybody else meet with the Bound system concessions at all, or is that just us?
I don't know, nobody around us has used Bound really yet. It's all starting next year. So, no.
Yeah, and I would say, Troy, when we, I'm not Katie per se, because she focuses more on the activities, but from the concession side, it'll still give us the reporting features, how many you sold this, how many you sold that. And it just, with the clicks that we have in Pay Anywhere, by the time we get to the point where we accept the credit card, we tap the screen 6 times. We wanted this one, you tap a Gatorade, you hit cash, credit card, and boom, you're at the screen. So it's too many clicks, but we like the reporting side of it, but just we need to be a little bit more quicker, you know, so.
Any other questions for Tracy?
Thank you so much.
All right, 6.4, budget committee report.
Yeah, so we met right before the last board meeting. You know, not much discussed. Looked over, and upcoming negotiations are going to be occurring here in this late fall or spring. Looked at both some benefit packages potentially that would do, and extend the conversations.
Any questions for Troy? All right, we'll go on to 6.5, superintendent report.
Yeah, first thing on there is March 23rd, so that's our next board meeting. It's going to have to be in Glidden, because I'm not going to make it now. That's easier. Move all our book fair stuff, and we also have kindergarten roundup that night. So this might be the wrong place to be. It could be. It could be a little disruptive. So we're going to be in Glidden at the community. So March 23rd, board meeting and be back where we've been in the past. So just want to make sure you guys do that. That way Amanda can kind of keep this crazy setup for book fair. So that's good. And then I just at last board meeting, I read a statement about the budget reductions, and I'm not going to read that again. But the one thing I said last time is that I would talk just briefly about what was said at our referendum meetings regarding what if the operating referendum doesn't pass? What are you going to do? Which was a question that was important to ask back then. So I went through that and what was said, and then what the recommendations are from last week with staff, or the last board meeting with staffing, and tonight then with extracurricular activities as a focus. So I'll just read through. I'm going to read two just so I don't miss anything. So at the school board meeting Monday, July 14th, the school board voted unanimously to direct Superintendent Hunstead to develop a general fund budget recommendation That includes reductions if the referendum plan is not passed by voters. In November 4th of 2025, the budget recommendations would include. So we talked about proposed framework for addressing the impact. We talked about increasing class sizes, reducing all these things. So I'm going to just read through what we are proposing. While we initially identified broad areas of concern, we are now taking specific steps into cutting 1.1 million from our budget. This includes the difficult reality of staff non-renewals, the reduction of several athletic coaches and academic activities, as well as a reduction in administration, transportation, curriculum, and technology. District-wide cuts impacting, addressing that impact is a total of 1.1 million. Some people said, why are we cutting 1.1 million if you asked for 850,000? So we asked for 850,000 for 10 years this past November. We are hoping to not have to cut an additional $600,000 next year to make up for the 1.7 that we will not be receiving due to the failed referendum. And I just want to talk about that briefly. So if we would have voted yes last November, we wouldn't have had money this year. We would have collected the money this year and we would have it for next year. Since it didn't pass, if the board decides we could go ask again, then they'll collect the next year and we'll have it the year after. So in order to bridge the 2-year gap of not receiving, I'm hoping that the adjustments we make now is going to be enough, so we don't have to do anything. The 850,000 over 10 years, because it was over a 10-year span, we figured we can make that work. Some people said, is it enough? We think that we can make the budget work moving forward over that 10-year period. Now, as we get into discussions of whether or not we move forward with another referendum, we'll talk about specifics of that, I guess, and what we need. So, want to say that. One of the things we said, we may have to increase class size. We've eliminated full 4-time positions here in the elementary, which has an impact on class size. We shifted our ALP. That person's going to go to full-time special ed, so there's going to be some adjustments. Reducing non-instructional positions, we say that might have to happen. We eliminated an assistant principal position and we reduced the district office staff. We released our payroll person in the district office. Reducing programs and positions. Obviously, we have some things proposed on the board meeting tonight, so everybody knows what those are, and that'll be a board decision tonight. I do want to say that the rationale behind the extracurricular cuts, the #1 focus is on the number of students that are going to be impacted. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. We just want to impact the least number of students. I also asked Katie to make sure that academics and athletics would have a similar cut. Are they different? Yes, I get that. The numbers, there is more on the athletic side, but the programs we cut is more on the academic side. So I understand that argument from you guys. The other thing that I wanted to make sure is what percentage of our budget is the activities. It's 3.91% of our final budget, and our budget cut in extracurricular ended up being 4.12. So very close. That was another focus that I wanted to make sure we did.
Sorry, can you say that number again?
The percent? Athletics was 3.91%, and we cut 4.12. So, yep. Building maintenance was the last thing that we had in that frequently asked questions from the bond referendum talks. We did not cut in this area to maintain our buildings. The average age of the DGF school building as of this last fall is 40.21 years old. That does include our brand new additions and whatnot. So we still have a very old building. Our buildings, and that's why the state still is giving us the maximum for long-term facility maintenance, which we know goes to mostly the bond. That's one of the other issues. I just wanted to make sure I just kind of, those are the things that we said we would do. That's how we addressed them or are proposing to address them. So, questions for me?
Tim, as you look at the legislature and what they've been telling us the last 2 years, what can we expect from the legislature for not this upcoming year, but the following year?
Well, we saw the February forecast, which was good news. So it's not the $3 billion deficit they were thinking they would have. It's 377 million is their February forecast of a deficit in the tails 2029. Had meetings today with MREA and we discussed a lot of that. And one of the cuts we talked about is they've been mandated by statute in 2023 to cut by 28-29, 250 million out of special ed. Part of that is they're looking at the access grants that are out there. They're also most likely are going to end up cutting the class subsidy, which we just got an improvement on 2 years ago, and now they're thinking that they might not be able to pay for it. Now, one of the participants today in this meeting is on that task force for the special ed cuts, and he is saying now because the February forecast was better than projected, they're looking at maybe being able to reduce that 250 to some other number, so it's not the same. But when they talked to legislators, the legislators told them, can carry on with your work, try to get to 250, and then we'll decide if we can make that better or not. So that's his information today. This is a policy year, not a budget year. And so the legislators are worried about running for office again. So they're more focused on their campaigning than they are on other things, unfortunately. It's also a policy year, which means they have already set a budget for next year. But we're asking for flexible spending again to free up some dollars here in our district that we could use in more than just a restricted area. So I'm hopeful for that. Senator Krupek is getting a lot of pressure from the region, and he is looking at maybe potentially doing something. And I know there's some other people from the other side of the aisle are looking at the same thing. So we're hopeful, but they're saying that don't expect much just because of the budget. So, yeah.
No, that's helpful.
Yeah. So,
any other questions for Shannon?
I'm gonna ask a question. Probably someone idiot here, so I'm sorry to all of you, but you know, I'm looking at this as I'm staring at your paper here. I'm going to talk about the 1.1 cuts and looking at the 850. If we cut $1 million, 1.1 this year, it'd also be the same 1.1 next year that we won't do, right? So it wouldn't be. It's not like we wouldn't be behind. No matter what, we're still above the 850.
That's our hope, and that's kind of why this year too, because we cut 600,000 coming into this year, and to Marcus's report that's, you know, it's why we're in a better place. Yeah, and so hopefully this is enough and we're good. I just don't know what's going to happen moving forward. So, but yeah, no, didn't sound like an idiot at all. That was a great question. He's doing it. Yeah.
Any other questions for Shannon? All right, we go on to 7.1. This is to approve the regular meeting on February 23rd, 2026. Do I have a motion? So, motion by Troy. Do I have a second? Second by Nicole. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. On to number 8. This is the consent agenda. 8.1, claims and accounts. Approve the bills for March 2026 in the amount of
$143,000. Sorry, 143. Why can't I say this right?
Yeah, right.
It's the pressure is getting to me. $143,860.06.
Treasurer's monthly budget report. To approve and file for audit the treasurer's monthly budget report that Marcus went over. Approve the resignation of Jenny West, special education teacher, effective March 20th, 2006. Do I have a motion?
So,
Motion by Laura. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Bruce. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to number 9, new and unfinished business. 9.1. This is to approve the high school course guide and graduation requirements. Do I have a motion? Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bruce. Any questions or discussion?
I did ask for clarification and I CC'd everybody, he CC'd everybody in here just so you knew that I was asking that question. Mr. O'Keefe got back to me, the extra requirement is going to be in electives. So. It's just.
Yep, yeah, it didn't get changed. The other thing, and the reason that went back to 24, this is back, and you guys, this is what I shared, or Joe shared with me today, that the requirements changed when there was a block schedule and then COVID and some of that stuff that was different. And it's never been corrected back to 26. And if you guys remember, I think he shared in his report that we have high school seniors that basically are done. They don't have like 1 or 2 classes. They don't have to take anything else, and it's creating a little bit of a. So he said we need to get back to 26, and so that's the process of getting back to 26. So kids still are in class and they're learning and not having open hours, or they don't care about a class that they're signed up for because they don't need that elective credit because they're going to graduate anyway, which creates some issues. That's the major reason by this, but yeah, that document didn't have where they were made up. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, this is to approve the discontinuation of funding for the following extracurricular programs: debate, pep band, Bella Voce, model event / youth and government, and river watch. Do I have a motion? Motion by Laura. Should I have a second? Second by. Any questions or discussion?
I do have a question. So we talked a lot, or listened, I guess, a lot about the debate and different funding sources if we choose to vote in favor of that, but they are able to rally and get funding that is not affecting our budget. Is that an opportunity for them to be able to have discussion later in reinstating the program?
I have no problem revisiting with it. I think the one thing that we want to make sure of is that annual sustainability. If that's the case, we can do something else. For sure. It'd be like anything else. If somebody comes and said, hey, can we add this program? Okay, well, how are we going to fund it? How's it going to be managed? That's something we'd always be open to. And I think that would be the same thing here. Kathy had shared some things she's already done. I guess for me, as your superintendent, I just want to make sure there's sustainability there. And what does that look like for the next year, Because I don't want to keep having kids like, are we going to have it or we're not going to have it? That's not going to be there. So I'd be definitely for discussion.
And then I wanted to commend everybody who was willing to come up and speak today. I think that it's a hard discussion and a hard conversation, and I can assure you that when we had meetings to learn about what the budget was going to look like and what courses and programs were going to be discontinued, a lot of the same questions that you guys asked were the questions that our fellow board members asked and were uncomfortable with, and likely lost some sleep over. So I just want you to know that these were not made lightly, and I can tell you that I came from a larger district where I graduated with 500 plus kids. So coming to a small district, I was very concerned that my kids weren't going to have a place. They weren't going to have a group. They were going to be on the outside, because even in a large district, I saw that could happen. And so a lot of you guys speaking about coming to our district and having a place to belong and to feel like you can be successful is very important. It was important to me, and I was probably more concerned than I needed to be about my kids fitting in. But I want everybody to know that I think it's important to our entire board that all kids find home and a place they belong, and we don't take that lightly. And I also like to comment on cross-cultural communication. I teach that to our law enforcement partners. I know that it's important, and I've encouraged my kids to continue pursuing ideas outside of the typical box. So I just want to commend everybody and just wanted to put those out there, that I know that those discussions have been had on multiple levels in our board.
Any other questions or discussions?
Yes. So the comment was made today about $5,600. Is that smart or not? I mean, is that the right number, or is that the number, accurate number?
Yeah, that's it.
Today. We don't expect anything to be that.
So yes, not the programs that would be
mean, I'm struggling with this today as I look through and find out the conversations I had prior to coming in here tonight, that this program is costing us substantially more per student than that. I'm gonna do the math now, and I don't know if it's 8 kids, if that's the correct number or not. Now we're looking at a $700 type of cost per student or whatever, and there's a lot of information that I was given or I received was substantially higher than that. So it makes me want to question if we're making the right call here. Because my feeling was we wanted to look at this of what it was costing the district. So it's just my.
Any other questions or discussion? Well, I would just say, nobody wants to do any of this. I mean, nobody wants to cut anything, frankly. And, you know, the scary prospect for the school board, and I say just have been on for some time, is, you know, we're not in a great financial spot with the state. The state's not really, I don't want to blame everything on the state, because I'm certain that we've probably made some decisions over the last 7 years that could have been better. But, you know, that along with some of the decrease in students that we've seen over the last 10 years just puts us in a tough spot. And nobody wants to cut anything. And I don't know, I think the process that the administration went through to look at the different programs, looking at the cost per student, the alternatives. I know one of the things that we looked at was, I think with the Model UN youth government, a lot of times that's funded through the YMCA, is that right? Or through,
It's a club. That's
typically a club.
Yeah.
It's atypical for this area. So, I mean, I appreciate the administration. It's a difficult thing to ask, to do something that you know is going to impact students, and nothing that anybody wants to do to impact students. And I think this district has done a good job of cutting without impacting students a great deal. And now it's just kind of down to that point where we're looking at some cuts that are definitely impacting students and potentially staff, and that's no fun. Nobody wants to do it.
This is like, sorry, not from the last. Do they have to be voted on as a whole? Like in all or nothing?
Well, as the resolution is said here, it is. It would be to separate it. If you want to separate it, that would have to be at the next meeting.
Yeah. Well,
Is this a resolution?
it's not a resolution. No.
Yeah, can I make a motion?
You can make a motion.
Can I make a motion to separate the extracurriculars and the separate votes?
Motion has been made to separate the extracurriculars into separate votes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. Any questions or discussion?
I don't think that's a fair thing to do. I think our administration has worked hard to make these recommendations, and obviously we had a large contingent for debate, but that doesn't mean that some of these other programs don't have kids who are just as passionate, but maybe less likely to come up and speak in front of our school board. And I just think that that would be unfair in this moment to do that.
Any other questions or discussion? Angela, what was your thought?
I mean, we've had a lot of conversation today as it stands, right? I mean, that one is in the secret. So that one, I feel like has deserved a separate vote outside of the rest of them. Now, if others don't agree with it, then that's fine, but the decision for me personally to vote on that one separate isn't a result of the conversations.
So in essence, what you would like to see is debate voted on separately?
That would be my.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion?
I just think knowing that, what Nicole asked earlier, like if we go back and if they do find funding, it's something that can be contracted. It's not like final end all be all, never come. But
That they're all important and all appreciated by.
And I think it's good to be clear on the original motion is not to dissolve programs, but to dissolve funding for the programs. I mean, it's perhaps a distinction without a difference, but I think it is putting the focus right where it should be. Is this is not a referendum on whether or not the program is excellent. I think we all know the debate program is excellent. And as well as River Watchers and Pep Band, Bella and Model UN. I mean, they're all good programs, but this is just about funding. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, just so, and I don't think I said it in the other statement, yeah, I mean, it's an awful deal. Remember, our number one focus was the number of people impacted. That was one. Second thing is with debate, nobody in our Heart of Lakes conference has debate. I mean, the only one that has debate, and there's Kathy set up something with the region, but our conference doesn't have it, Morin has it, and so that was the other reason for the administration when we looked at the region who has debate. That's what we found, and that's why it's not a fun decision to make, but it made that decision easier for us as an admin team to say, hey, since there are fewer and fewer schools having this program, and we're in a budget crunch, that made it easier to cut that. I'll just tell you, it doesn't mean it doesn't have merit. It doesn't have merit. We get that. That's where, again, back to Nicole's question, just like Brittany brought up, I'm not opposed to saying, hey, what else can we do? Because the focus here is like pep band. We can have pep band, just not funding an instructor. You know, I mean, he's going to teach pep band during the day. If we're going to teach pep band at night, they can come. We had 3 kids that came and played. We didn't pay anybody that. We're just cutting the funding of it because the school can't fund it. But when you don't fund it anymore, it's a cut, right? And so I get that. So someone's going, well, you want me to do that for nothing? We don't, but we don't have the funds. So I guess I just want to clarify some of that. And it's I guess the lack of better word, it's awful, but it is what it is. So that's
Just go back to what Troy was saying. The number that was initially provided to us was substantially higher than the number that was presented to us.
Any other questions or discussion on Angela's motion? All right, so Angela's motion is to vote on these separately. So if you're in favor of that motion, you're voting aye. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
2. All those in opposed, say nay. Nay. Motion fails. We'll go back to the motion, original 9.2 motion. Is there any other questions or discussion on? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion passes. All right. On to 9.4, this is to approve the resolution.
9.3.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. 9.3, this is through the resolution reducing and discontinuing education programs and positions. And I'll just read through the resolution. Whereas the school board of Independent District number 2164 adopted a resolution on February 9, 2026, directing the administration to make recommendations regarding the reduction and or discontinuance of programs and positions. And whereas said recommendations have been received and considered by the school board, be it resolved by the school board of Independent School District number 2164 as follows: that the following programs and positions or portions thereof be discontinued permanently. The motion for the adoption of the foregoing resolution was made by and seconded by. All right, so that is the resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second? Second by Laura. Any questions or discussion?
It just goes back to the same thing. We don't take this vote lightly, whether it passes or not. I know it's a very hard decision, and I personally have encouraged my kids to take advantage of our foreign language programs. I took Spanish and ASL, sign language in high school, as well as in college. And I think there's great value to that and understanding different cultures and communities within our own culture. And so I just want to appreciate all that offers.
Any other questions or discussion?
I struggle that we don't have a plan for it, and I don't agree that I think that the opportunity to take it online, to do that type, that is not learning for most kids. I think that there's an opportunity to do something else with the programs that this can get rid of. So.
Any other questions or discussion? I would just ask Shannon, what are some of the options for the students regarding the monitoring that? I know you listed some of those to the board.
Yeah, so we're talking to Mr. O'Keefe, he's done a little homework on that. There's online, obviously it's not the same. We have a program in-house that we use for credit recovery at Edmonton. Edmonton has Spanish as a course that can be offered through that as well. It's not the same as having an in-person teacher without question, but there are options there. Are the options different? Yep. Are they as good? No. But you know, when you look across the entire high school and what's going to get cut, that's, I'm not going to say it's, you know, it's a difficult decision. And so Mr. O'Keefe and his team worked through what, again, affecting the students and requirements by the state, requirements by our handbook in our school.
And there was information provided to the school board too, that there was a deference or whatever the word would be for students going into college who didn't have the opportunity to take college or take a language course, that there was a different.
Yeah, so for example, I was in Lancaster for the last 5 years before I came here. We didn't have foreign language. We didn't have one graduate that had foreign language, and they got into all the colleges because the colleges, like I shared with you guys at Ohio State University, they just waived that requirement then because you didn't have the option to take it. So since your school didn't offer it, they don't hold that against you. Does it help when you go other places? Of course, but yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you for making that more articulate.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it.
All right.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, since this is we did get a motion in a second. Okay. Yes, we'll go by roll call. Laura. Nicole.
Aye.
Troy.
Nay.
David. Aye. Brittany.
Aye.
Micah. Aye. Angela.
Aye.
Resolution. On to 9.4. This is for the resolution proposing placement of a continuing contract to continuing teacher on an unrequested leave of absence. This is obviously related to 9.3. And I'll just go through the resolution. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 2164 as follows, that it is proposed that Jodine Fitzgerald Roberts, continuing contract tenure teacher of said district, be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits at the end of 2025-2026 school year, effective May 28, 2026. Said action is taken in accordance with the district master agreement and pursuant to Minnesota statutes 122A 40. Upon the grounds described in said statute, which are specifically as follows: discontinuance of position, namely a foreign language teacher. Be it further resolved that notice of the proposed placement on unrequested leave, together with a copy of this resolution, forward to said teacher and an affidavit of this person filed a copy of the resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Nicole. I have a second. Second by. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll go by roll call. Laura? Nicole?
Aye.
Troy? Aye. David? Aye. Brittany?
Aye.
Micah? Angela? Aye. Resolution. On 9.5, this is for the non-certified contract for Adela Rodriguez Food Service, Class 1, Step 6, effective March 17, 2000. Do I have a motion? Motion by Troy. Do I have a second? Second by Chris. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 10.1, the next board meeting is Monday, March 23rd, 2026, 6 p.m. in the Linden site at the DGF Community Room. The Facilities and Transportation Committee meeting will follow that meeting at the same site. Number 11, this is to adjourn the regular meeting of the Gilbert Glen Felton School Board. Do I have a motion?
Oh.
Motion by Nicole. Do I have a second? Second by her.
You said that, we both did, yeah.
You guys are afraid, okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.